All right, hello everybody, and welcome to my channel. Weird, but here we are. So, we are here to talk about Conquest today, which is everybody's least favorite subject. But before we get into it, if you at all find anything here informational or helpful or not helpful, whatever, be nice. Let me know. If there's something I missed, let me know. But let's just jump into it, I guess. So we are going to talk about Conquest. A lot of it is going to be in browser, some of it in game video I've got. And I know what you're wondering. You want to know how I can possibly tell you how to do everything in Conquest efficiently, and how you're possibly forgetting anything when Conquest changes every 3 months. We get new feats, we get new discs, we get new bosses, we get a new character. So, with that being said, it's going to be pretty standard. It's going to be mainly from the top down sort of thing. It's basically going to be all tips and tricks that I've kind of followed from the beginning of Conquest, all through every iteration of it. So, it's not going to be about specific feats in general, just more about like broad strokes, things that you're forgetting, things that I find myself repeating every month to people because we tend to forget it. A lot of us hate this game mode, which is fine. So that's what we're here for. We're going to fix it. It's going to be fine. Okay, guys? So here we go. All right. We're in the browser because the browser is way easier to show this on. The first thing that I want to highlight is if you are doing the hard mode of Conquest, there is an extra hard path that you can take, and it's not really highlighted well in game, which is why I wanted to show you in the browser here, but it is the exact same in every single sector. So you can see these orange nodes are your hard path, okay? And basically all it does is lead you to an extra disc node and an extra scavenger node. So this orange disc node up here and this orange scavenger down here, you can only access from the hard path. So if you deviate off of this, so let's say you get to this node over here and you're like, you know what? I don't want to go here. It's Tuscans or whatever that you want to avoid. If you deviate down here, you actually can't get back onto the hard path until the choke point here. So once you've done that, you can only go to this one option. So my recommendation with the hard path is to stay on it until you can see the nodes. Once you can preview what discs are here, you can decide which one you're going to go to, and then you can decide if you want to deviate off of it. I almost always recommend staying on for the discs and then hopping off when it's a scavenger node, especially if you're going to be buying the Conquest pass anyway. I find that you just don't need to buy consumables because you're getting them in your pass. But for the discs, especially early on, I recommend staying on it just so you can get all of the options available and then build the best disc set so you're not swapping discs a ton throughout Conquest. Cool, makes sense. Everybody's kind of moderately happy. These here are your choke points, so the mini boss obviously, and then these kind of little nodes here. So you can hop off the hard path and then get back on it when you come to the choke point, but once you hop off in the middle here, you can't get back on. Okay? Cool. So, let's talk about, I guess, consumables and the path and whether or not you're going to buy the pass and all of this fun stuff, okay? So, I personally recommend buying the pass. It doesn't matter if you want to buy the pass or not. You can get the red crate either way, but you are going to get way more consumables when you do buy the path, okay? Buy the pass, which will help you. So I would definitely consider that. The biggest thing to keep in mind is when you are going through and you're doing your feats, you have feats that require you every iteration of Conquest has feats that require you to win and feats that just require you to either inflict debuffs or gain certain buffs or kill X amount of characters, like 40 or 50, with Mandalorians or with bounty hunters or whichever. The really great thing here with the consumables is that, and the discs, the consumables in particular, you don't need to win to do a lot of these feats. And if you don't win, you don't consume your consumables. Okay, so basically you're going to equip them, you're going to lose or time out, and then you get to use that consumable over and over and over again. If that makes somewhat sense. They all last for a different amount of battles, so some of them are 2, some of them are 4, but again, they only get used up when you win. So if you time out or if you lose, if you just get absolutely destroyed, you still have that consumable equipped. It hasn't knocked anything off of your battles remaining on the consumable, and you're able to go back in and use it again. The key thing is that you don't want to hit the forfeit key, and I can show you that. So you don't want to hit the forfeit key once you're in a battle. So here I'm clearly working on the stealth feat. Doesn't matter. This forfeit key down here, don't click this. If you forfeit, you lose. I had 5 stealths. I will lose any progress. All of those 5 that I've gained, I will lose them towards that feat, okay? So it is much better to just get absolutely wrecked here, which I am, or let the battle time out, okay? Just let the clock run out, lock your phone, go get a coffee, go do whatever you want to do, because forfeiting, you've just wasted your energy. There's absolutely no point. The benefit here to timing out and losing, again, you're not using your consumables, so they're equipped. You can keep using them as much as you want, and you're not digging into your stamina, okay? So that is the big thing to keep in mind there. Okay, so discs. You don't need to equip them right away. You can see here, I only have 11 out of 12 dots equipped of discs, and I have a whole ton on the right over there ready to be equipped. What I like to do, gather your discs as you're going through the sectors, stockpile them in your inventory unless you know for certain sure that it is a disc that you want on. If it is, fine, okay, you can put it on there. If you hit the jackpot right away, go for it. If you don't, just leave it in your inventory. You don't need to equip it right away. You don't need to take up that space and then possibly have to spend energy later reshuffling your discs around, okay? It's not necessary whatsoever. You can get through all of Conquest without having them all equipped. And then you can wait. I've gone through Conquest before where you get to the final boss in Sector 5, and that was when I put on my last disc. Again, it's really just to eliminate swapping. It's to eliminate any kind of error you could make. The best thing you can do is kind of build your set, equip it, and leave it on there. If you have to pull discs off because discs are hurting you for feats, which we've seen happen in the past with thermals or caustic emissions, those dots stealing your kills when you're trying to get them for feats. If you have to take those discs off, what I would recommend doing is going through, doing all of your feats with the discs you have on that you can do for the ones that the discs aren't necessarily hurting you on. Then go in, switch your discs around so you only switch them once and go and do the other feats afterwards. That way you're not going back and forth between these, conflicting disc builds that you might have. You're spending energy if you haven't bought the premium pass, and you're just blowing and wasting energy to swap back and forth. If you only need to swap once, that's way more efficient than continuously swapping around, okay? Let's talk about Stim packs, because for some reason, the Stim packs are in a completely different area than the consumables, which is ridiculous because they are consumables, in my opinion. So you have your inventory, which has your discs, and the other half of your inventory has your consumables, your med packs. Your actual stim packs are applied through the squad loadout screen here. You can see they all have little plus signs underneath their names, and then it pulls up your stim pack inventory, and you can apply them and see what it does stamina-wise for your characters. I don't know why it's in a different menu, but it's in a different menu for some reason, and it's really stupid. But there it is. Okay, so the last thing that I think is important to remember is that as you're making your way through the sectors, you want to keep in mind about the feats that you're going to be, doing in the sectors, either in those sectors specifically because the feats are for that sector, or in that sector because it's an easy global feat to knock out in that sector. Or it might work out that you can double dip. So for example, for the boba feats, one of them required bounty hunter wins as a global feat. And in sector 2, you also needed to gain stealth like 60 times, I think it was. If you took an aura lead bounty hunter team in, you could get your bounty hunter wins in that sector and gain stealth at the same time. So you could kind of double dip that way. But what I like to do is kind of keep track of feats that I need and look for teams that I think are beneficial to do those feats against. So what I mean by that is teams that would probably be a little bit easier to beat if you don't have a specific faction built up really well. So for example, I always look for a Bad Batch team that doesn't have over-prepared on it, because you can almost always beat it with factions that you need to get certain kills with once you have your discs equipped. So I, for example, used my Rebel Fighters on a Bad Batch team in Sector 3 once. And I don't have an optimal Rebel Fighters team. It was obviously a Mon Mothma, Wedge Biggs, and Lando, because you need them for Jedi Master Luke. So those were my Relic Rebel Fighters, and then a Gear 11 or Gear 10 turret. And they were able to take out a Bad Batch team in Sector 3 once I had my discs equipped, because again, it was a Bad Batch team that specifically didn't have over-prepared. So I like to look for that. They're also great, if you need to farm feats that require stunning or anything like that, where you can take in characters that are fast like Han, and you can just let him kind of carry the team for you. Another team that I like to look out for on the nodes, anything that has Nest in it and anything that has Jango. If you have Nest in it, because she's gaining so much protection when you hit her, you can just farm feats against her. If you need potency down, you just keep hitting her. If you need to inflict armor shred, you can keep hitting her. If you need to stun, again, you just keep hitting her. Like, she just stands there and lets you have it. And usually you will either lose, which is great, or timeout, which is great, because now you haven't wasted any of your stamina, but you're getting all of that towards your feats. Anyway, same idea with Jango, except instead of him having all that protection recovery, he goes into damage immunity. So again, you're doing no damage to him whatsoever, but you're able to make progress on those feats. So he's really great for that reason. The other two nodes I like to look out for are Geonosians and Imperial Troopers. The sole reason for them is because they have you're able to get more than 5 kills on those nodes. So if you have Imperial Troopers, they revive themselves. So you can get anywhere between 5 to, 8 kills on a node. So if you're farming something that you need to kill 40 characters with Mandalorians or whichever, that's a great option, or Empire, whatever. Same idea with Geonosians, because you start with 6 right away. You're basically given a freebie. If you can play it well, by that I mean if you can get away with not killing the Brute Alpha in a Geonosian team, he can keep bringing back the Brute, and you can just keep killing the Brute over and over again, and it will trigger each kill will count towards your feat. And then, of course, you have separatist teams that have Watt on them. Obviously, those are great because if you leave Watt alone, then he can revive whichever separatist you've killed, assuming, and I need to put this as a caveat, this is a huge caveat for Watt nodes and also for Night Sister nodes, because obviously with Daka there, you can get revives out of her. If you're using Watt on your own team and you've given them the weapons tech, then you need to remember that they are not going to revive if you kill with that character. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Okay. Other than that, I don't think I missed anything. All right. So that is pretty much it. There is not a lot I can really give you without going into specifics. And since our conquest just ended and we're going to get a whole new set of feats coming our way, there's no point going into specifics on feats here. But these are all things that I find myself repeating every single month to people, and people tend to forget. So hopefully it's helpful. If it was not, then I apologize in advance. We're in delay. But either way, guys, really, really appreciate you watching. And if you found it helpful, please let me know. If you have any ideas of anything else that you want to see, please let me know. I promise I will do a cam guide. It's coming eventually. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I don't really have a sign off, so I'm just going to say bye, and I will see you next time.